Before the online session begins, kindly rename your Zoom display to include your full name and department or affiliation. This helps us identify participants and promote a productive discussion. Please ensure your microphone is muted when not speaking to minimize background noise and ensure clear audio for all participants. If your internet connection allows, we encourage you to enable your video for a more engaging training experience. However, this is optional based on your internet stability. Please reserve your questions for the designated Q&A session. Utilize the chat feature to type your questions during the talk or use the raise hand button if necessary. This session will be recorded by attending. You consent to being recorded. This session is solely for registered participants, and sharing or projecting its content to non-registered individuals is strongly discouraged. Participant recording of the session is also discouraged. Please remember, your account is non-transferable and should not be shared. After the training, kindly complete and submit the evaluation form. Upon submission, you will receive a certificate of attendance and have participation via email. Ensure your email address is correctly provided for certificate delivery. Your feedback is invaluable and aids in enhancing our future webinars. Thank you for your cooperation and active participation in our non-degree offering. We hope for a productive and engaging session.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in this hour, asking for your guidance and protection to our virtual gathering today. We thank you for the gift of life, the gift of family, the gift of work, and the gift of friendship. We thank you for this great opportunity to bring us together in this session as brothers and sisters. Bless the committee, the facilitator, and the attendees of this gathering. May we continue to value and appreciate the true essence and meaning of life with the help of your grace. And as we go along to our discussion today, we humbly pray that you would deepen our understanding. Lord, enlighten us and give us wisdom every day. Forgive us for our shortcomings and remind us to always be mindful of the things we do in life. We offer our life and our decisions to you, O Lord. May this gathering today create a memorable experience and a fruitful outcome. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, our Redeemer and our Savior. Amen.
Good day, everyone. I am Russell, and welcome to today's lecture hosted by Global Study Center, Silliman University. I am quite sure that you registered for this lecture because you're also wondering the vital dilemma on balancing innovation and ethics, managing risks, and ensuring responsible AI use in education. In our dramatically advancing world, the integration of artificial intelligence into educational settings offers immense possibilities for innovation and enhanced learning experiences. However, these advancements also raise important ethical questions and potential risks that must be carefully addressed. This session will deliberate the effective strategies of integrating AI into educational environments while ensuring that ethical considerations are not overlooked. We will explore best practices for promoting responsible AI use and discuss how technological advancements can be harnessed to enrich learning spaces safely and ethically. We are honored to have two distinguished experts with us today. First, our very own Director of the Global Studies Center at Silliman University, Professor Dave E. Marshall, a prolific researcher and author of AI Integration into the Silliman Education. Professor Marshall has made significant contributions to the field of educational technology and digital pedagogies. A leading expert in educational technology, particularly in AI integration. With over 20 years of experience in IT education, he has been recognized with numerous awards, including Outstanding Information Technology Educator Award. Dr. Marshall is also a sought after speaker on responsible AI use in education. His leadership and commitment to ethical technology integration have made him a key figure in shaping the future of education in the Philippines. Joining him from the Ministry of Education in Greece, Professor Dr. 𝗕𝗃𝗰𝗶, who leads the Directorate of Educational Technology and Innovation in Greece. uh, Prof. Lampo brings invaluable insights from her extensive experience in balancing innovation and ethics uh, in the Greek education system. She is a multi-awarded global educator, STEM instructor, ICT teacher trainer, researcher, and international speakers. She currently teaches STEM at the Greek Astronomy and Space Company, a recipient of over 200 national international awards, including Global Teacher Award from 2019 to 2021. Dr. Lampo is a recognized advocate of integrating STEM in language teaching and astronomy. She has founded and coordinated several international humanitarian projects focused on sustainable development goals, authored scientific books for children, and serves on the editorial boards of various academic journals. Together with Dr. Marshall, they will deliver a comprehensive understanding on how to integrate AI into education responsibly and ethically. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed speakers. First, with Dr. Dave Marshall, let's give him a virtual round of applause. Dr. Dave Marshall, sir, the virtual floor is yours.
Um, Russ, we decided with Professor Dr. Rania. She will
Mm,
comes first, and then I will come in after her.
I
Thank you,
see.
Professor Dr. Lampu. The screen is yours.
Okay.
Well, greetings from Greece, everyone. I'm very honored and very excited to conduct this webinar today. I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Silliman University for the extraordinary work that they're doing in the digital field. And of course, I would like to warmly thank Dr. Dave Marshall for his kind invitation. Our topic today touches on important considerations as new technology and methods are increasingly integrated into educational settings. And it focuses actually on ensuring that innovation does not compromise ethical standards and that risks associated with the adoption of new tools and practices are managed thoughtfully. So in today's session, we will explore how to harmonize sometimes competing priorities, How can we foster an environment where cutting-edge technologies and educational tools are used responsibly and ethically? How do we manage the risks associated with rapid advancements while ensuring that our innovations serve our learners equitably? And of course, we know that innovation offers unprecedented opportunities to enrich learning experiences, to personalize education and unlock new potentials. But on the other hand, we must navigate these accompanying ethical challenges, ensuring that these advancements do not compromise our core values or the well-being of our students. At the end, I hope we will have a constructive discussion. We have a lot to discuss, so let me share my presentation. I don't know if it's visible now. Okay, can you see also the change of slides?
It's visible, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
First of all, I would say that ethics is a word, it's a Greek word. It derives from the ancient Greek word ethos, which means character, which means value. And AI ethics in general, it is a subfield of applied ethics, which focuses how AI is developed, how it's deployed, and how it's used. In other terms, we could say that AI is this specialized area which studies the moral challenges posed by AI technologies, and the primary focus is how AI can actually improve or jeopardize individual well-being, autonomy, and the freedoms essential for a democratic society. First of all, we need to talk about ethical frameworks for innovation in education, because ethical frameworks are essential for guiding the creation of new technologies in education, ensuring that advancements contribute positively without compromising ethical standards. So first of all, how to develop guidelines that balance technological process and ethical responsibility. First of all, by inclusive stakeholder engagement. This means that we need to involve educators, students, parents, policymakers, and tech developers in creating these guidelines, these frameworks. And this ensures what? That diverse perspectives are considered, addressing potential ethical concerns from multiple angles. Secondly, guidelines should be grounded in the principle of Belmont, the principle of maximizing benefits while minimizing harm. For example, ensuring that innovative tools and without compromising privacy or inequality. And risk assessment and management also, because we need to develop a process for assessing the risks associated with new technologies before they are implemented. And this includes identifying potential negative impacts on student well-being, data security and equity. And guidelines should include always protocols for managing this risk effectively. Of course, transparency and accountability mechanisms, because clear policies should be developed regarding the use of data, decision-making processes, and AI algorithms. So stakeholders should know how these technologies function and have a mechanism for holding institutions accountable. Institutions at the same time should define boundaries for collecting, analyzing, and storing student data. And these guidelines should prioritize what? Informed consent, let's not forget about this, data minimization, and purpose limitation to avoid misuse or excessive data gathering. Ethical impact statements means that we require, we need the creation of ethical impact statements for new technologies or practices before they are adopted. And these statements should outline the potential benefits and ethical concerns, providing a basis for informed decision-making. So as technology evolves, so should the ethical guidelines, establishing committees, as we're going to see later, about ethical research and review boards that periodically review new tools and practices. This ensures that ethical considerations keep pace with technological advancements. And what is the role of ethical decision-making when adopting new tools, particularly AI and big data in the classroom? First of all, AI tools, when are used in the classroom, such as automated grading, for example, or learning analytics, should be thoroughly vetted for potential biases. Ethical decision-making requires understanding how these systems are trained, who designs them, and whether they might disproportionately impact certain groups. In addition, students and their guidance should have a clear understanding of how AI and big data tools affect their educational experience. So providing options for opting out or understanding the impact of their participation in data-driven initiatives promotes ethical transparency. And while AI can personalize learning experiences, ethical decision-making involves weighing these benefits against potential privacy risks. For example, tracking student behavior to improve learning outcomes should not infringe on their rights or be overly invasive. So educators play a key role in ethical decision-making. Educators should be trained to critically assess new tools and be equipped with guidelines that help them understand when and how these tools should be integrated responsibly. And both students and educators should talk about the ethical implications of using AI and big data. And this includes understanding the potential biases in these systems, the implications of data privacy, the long-term effects of relying on technology in education, and also the issues of how to promote digital literacy, which means training, implement robust data privacy policies that protect the student information. This includes how to secure storage practices, limiting data access to authorized individuals, and ensuring that data is used only for its intended educational purposes. A very interesting principle, which actually is a core principle of the AI, responsible AI movement, as we call it. This is how, what we call human oversight. Maintain human oversight in decision-making processes. For example, while AI might assist in grading or providing personalized learning paths, final decisions should involve educators who can consider the broader context of a student's learning experience. This is what we call human oversight. Educational equity ensures that the adoption of new technologies does not exacerbate educational inequities. So this includes considering the multiple and diverse needs of students and ensuring that AI tools are accessible and beneficial for all, not just a select group. And provide training for educators on the ethical implications, because this training should equip them to make informed decisions, to recognize potential ethical issues and take appropriate action. Developing ethical frameworks for educational innovation involves establishing guidelines that we said before that foster technological process while prioritizing well-being and rights of all stakeholders. So this requires, as I have already said, proactive ethical decision-making, continuous evaluation, and a collaborative approach to ensure that education remains both cutting-edge and responsible. Another aspect is managing risks in EdTech implementation. Implementing educational technology brings both opportunities and risks. So some strategies for identifying, mitigating, and addressing key risks in EdTech implementation have to do, first of all, with how we can identify and mitigate risks such as privacy concerns. EdTech solutions often require data collection of students, including their academic performance, their behavior, and even biometric data. So it's crucial to establish clear guidelines on what the data is collected, why it's needed, and how it's stored. Schools providers must obtain informed consent from students or their guardians and ensure that they understand the implications. Data minimization, only the minimum amount of data necessary should be collected. This minimizes exposure in case of a breach and ensures that sensitive information is not over-collected. And data portability ensures that students and parents have access to the data collected and know how it's being used. They should also have the right to request deletion or transfer of their data. Robust security measures because EdTech platforms must employ encryption, multi-factor authentication, and regular security audits to protect the student data from breaches. Data storage and transmission must meet high security standards, and backup procedures should be in place. Vendor vetting and compatibility. This means that schools should carefully evaluate third-party EdTech vendors based on the data protection practices. So contracts should clearly outline data usage terms such as ownership and security responsibilities. Cybersecurity training, as of course, it is very important, regular training. And unequal access, one of the biggest challenges is actually how to ensure that all students have equal access to necessary devices. So this way, governments, schools, or private sectors can collaborate on initiatives to provide subsidized or free access to technology for underserved communities. And this entails also inclusive design, because all the EdTech solutions should be designed with accessibility in mind, including support for students with disabilities, so screen readers, adjustable font sizes, language translations, things like that. And equity-focused implementation. Schools must ensure that EdTech doesn't exacerbate existing inequalities. For instance, providing training and support to both the students and teachers in less resourced areas can help bridge the digital divide. Addressing the unintended consequences of new technologies, such as algorithmic biases or screen time-related issues. Algorithmic biases, this has to do with how AI-driven tools should be trained on diverse data sets to minimize biases. Developers must ensure that algorithms do not reinforce stereotypes or unfairly advantage certain groups based on race, gender, or socioeconomic background. Regular bias audits, that we need to conduct periodic audits and evaluations to identify any biases in algorithmic outcomes. So involving third-party evaluators or ethicists can enhance the objectivity of these reviews. Of course, screen time and digital well-being, this has to do with how we need to maintain a healthy balance and reduce the risk of screen tiredness, establish clear deadlines for screen time based on the age, create level educational context, so schools can incorporate breaks or offline assignments and physical activities to minimize the negative efforts of prolonged screen exposure. Monitoring and support for mental health. Schools should actively monitor students' well-being and provide resources or counseling when it's needed, and make sure that you are not over-relied on technology. This means that technology should only complement, not replace traditional teaching methods. Schools should continue to emphasize critical thinking, creativity, the personal skills, ensuring that students are not overly reliant on technology for learning or problem solving. And this needs training again, because empowering teachers with the knowledge and flexibility to blend the technology into their pedagogy responsibly is key to mitigating risks. So addressing privacy, data security, and equity challenges while being mindful of the unintended consequences of new technologies ensures that actually innovations enhance education without compromising ethical standards or student well-being. I mentioned already about this is how it's important to ensure equity and inclusion in EdTech, because this involves careful planning and a commitment to provide equal opportunities for all learners for background resources. So first is the challenge of preventing technology from exacerbating existing inequalities in education, how to face this digital divide. Students from lower income families, rural areas, or underserved communities may lack access to reliable devices. To take into account gaps in digital literacy, even when devices and connectivity are provided, disparities in digital literacy can hinder equitable learning, and the differential support structures. This means that students in wealthier, for example, districts may have access to tech support, tutoring, and parental assistance that can enhance the learning experiences, whereas students in less resourced areas might not have these advantages. Bias in technology implementation, this has to do, first of all, with cultural and linguistic biases, because many edtech tools are designed based on the needs of a specific demographic, often reflecting the dominant culture or language or socioeconomic background of the developers. This can lead, of course, to a content that is less relevant or even inaccessible to students from diverse backgrounds. And furthermore, AI-driven tools and algorithms can unintentionally reinforce existing biases if they are trained on biased data or do not consider diverse student needs. For example, predictive analytics might unfairly disadvantage students from marginalized groups by setting lower expectations based on past performance trends. And of course, cost-based commercialization, paywalls and subscription models. Many high-quality edtech solutions require subscriptions or upfront payments, which can create barriers for low-income students and schools, and the privatization of education, which can shift the focus from equitable access to profit-driven motives. So what are some strategies for making innovative tools accessible and beneficial for diverse group of learners? First is what we call universal design for learning. It's a framework that's a very popular framework with flexible and inclusive learning approaches. These principles advocate for designing educational tools and content that cater to a wide range of abilities, of learning styles, and cultural backgrounds. This means that this can accommodate diverse learners. Accessibility features. These products should be built with accessibility in mind, including options set before for screen readers. Public-private partnerships and government initiatives. Programs like free Wi-Fi, for example, hotspots or subsidized devices, or community tech hubs can bridge the access gap. Funding and grants tech solutions. Public funds and grants can be directed towards developing or scaling inclusive edtech tools, or prioritizing solutions that target low-income areas or are designed with underserved populations in mind can help address systematic inequalities. And customization for local contexts, because these tools should be adaptable to local languages, cultures, and learning contexts. So partnering with local educators and communities during the design process ensures that the content resonates with students' lived experiences and aligns with their cultural identities. Community-led initiatives, very important, promotes local ownership and sustainability. And this can lead, of course, to more relevant and impactful tools. Digital literacy, I mentioned before, professional development, parent and community engagement, affordable and open resource solutions, open educational resources. Here in Greece, we have created a digital, so-called digital school, is the digital infrastructure aligned with the Digital Agenda 2020 of the European Union. Everything there is digitalized, the textbooks are interactive. We have not only the textbooks are digitalized, but also they are enriched with a lot of digital resources. And we prioritize open educational resources, which are semantically autonomous and can be reused. Scalable low-cost devices and software. This can be more accessible to students in low-income communities. And of course, bias testing, inclusive design, and so that AI algorithms are rigorously tested for bias. And transparent data practice. Students and parents should be informed about how the data is used and have control over their data. And these private security practices must be strong enough to protect also the most vulnerable populations. When we want to balance, how to balance automation with human-centric education. First of all, by degrading AI and automated systems without losing the human touch in education. How? By remembering that this is a supporting, we said before, not replacing teachers, should be used to increase the teachers' capabilities, not replace them. This can handle routine administrative tasks, liberating time for teachers to focus on engaging with students, to be more creative, to provide feedback and fostering critical thinking. How to empower educators with insights, because AI-driven analytics can offer valuable insights into students' performance, into learning patterns in areas needing improvement. However, these insights are most effective when interpreted and applied by educators who understand the nuances of student needs and can tailor their approaches accordingly. Maintaining human relationships and emotional intelligence, very, very important. The role of empathy in education. Human educators bring emotional intelligence, empathy, relational skills that AI cannot replicate. Foster collaborative learning. Education is not just about knowledge, it's about social interaction, teamwork, and communication. So automated systems should be designed to enhance collaboration among students and between students or teachers, rather than isolate learners in individualized experiences. Blended learning models prioritize blended learning models where automation is combined with in-person instruction. This approach, of course, leverages AI for personalized learning paths, while still emphasizing group activities, discussions, and direct teacher-student interactions. And at the same time, of course, educators should prioritize the skills, ensuring that students engage with complex problems and creative projects that require human input and critical thinking. The ethical use of technologies avoid algorithmic bias mentioned before, ensuring fairness, the human oversight that I mentioned before. Teachers should have the authority to override automated decisions, ensuring that the unique needs and circumstances of students are considered. The students and parents should inform, as said before, preventing over-reliance on automation, how to balance automation with human agency, how to develop human-centric learning objectives, because education should remain focused on nurturing human qualities such as creativity, social responsibility, empathy, and leadership. I want to say, for me, according to actually my personal opinion, is in 5 or 10 years from now, I think the majority of citizens will know, young people of today will know how to, we have already developed advanced digital skills, but it will be rare to find people with integrity, with moral values. This is actually the reason of this webinar today, how to remember that we are humans and we're not robots, and how educators should maintain their human dimension alongside with the technical aspect of the curriculum. So ethical use of technology means avoiding narrow learning pathways. Ethical implication involves creating flexible learning experiences that allow students to explore, to challenge themselves, and grow beyond algorithmic predictions. For example, all this software, all these tools for literature, how they should be designed, because they risk to become more narrow-minded. And humanizing technology use in education, this means teacher-led technology integration. This means define the appropriate balance between automated instruction activities that require human engagement and promote student agency. Students should be empowered to make decisions about their own learning rather than passively following AI-driven recommendations. They should be encouraged to set goals, to explore diverse sources, and actively participate in shaping their educational journey. Policy governance also play an important role. The role of policymakers and institutions in guiding its ethical use becomes increasingly important. So setting clear standards and creating legal frameworks are essential for promoting responsible innovation while protecting the rights and well-being of students and educators. So the role is how to establish clear ethical guidelines, national and local standards. And these standards should cover data privacy, AI usage, student rights, fair distribution of educational resources. Very important, ethics committees can form specialized committees or advisory boards composed of educators or technologists or ethicists and community representatives to develop and regularly update the standards. And these bodies would ensure that evolving technologies are used in ways that align with social values and educational tools. Inclusive policy development, it's crucial to consider the diverse needs of learners, and also the funding and the support for the shared schools, the transparency of accountability mechanism. This means regulatory oversight, and monitoring compliance of enforcing rules, and ethical AI algorithm governance. This means bias auditing requirements, how policymakers should mandate that AI tools used in education undergo regular bias audits to ensure that they do not reinforce discrimination or systematic inequities. Human oversight mandates also, and this ensures that educators remain central to the decision-making process and can intervene where needed. Of course, professional development policies should require ongoing professional development for teachers and administrators. Creating legal institutional safeguards, comprehensive data protection laws, regulations, AI ethics system standards, institutional safeguards for innovation, ethical review boards. It's very important for every university to include. Create, of course, promote global collaboration and best practices sharing. International frameworks. We don't have so far global international frameworks, enough frameworks for this. The European Union, I will show you later what happens with the European Union. Already UNESCO, organizations like UNESCO, has already published some reports where we can find there some principles about the ethical use, responsible use of AI. Definitely we need the cross-sector collaboration with private sector leaders to create holistic policies that balance innovation with societal needs. Legal recourse and rights protections, this means clear complaint and appeal mechanism. Legal frameworks to provide students, parents, educators with clear mechanism to report misuse of technology, challenge unfair decisions made by automated systems, and seek redress when rights are violated. And rights-based approaches to EdTech. Digital well-being. It's not accidental that 20 companies now, big tech companies like Google and Amazon, organize special mental health programs for their employees in order to balance this, the consequences of the over-reliance on technology and to prioritize well-being. It's a trend nowadays among employers all around the world. At the same time, design tools with well-being in mind. Create a balanced digital physical learning environment, develop detox programs, mindfulness and well-being workshops, and promote responsible technology use. This has to do with project-based inquiry-driven learning, promote digital citizenship and ethical data use. Encourage health technology boundaries. This means time management, self-regulation skills, balance entertainment, educational use, how to promote reflective practices, collaborative digital products. And very important here for you as researchers, it's very not worth it to mention about the establishment of ethical review boards, because this can protect student privacy and its security, prevent biases, promote equity, inclusion, mitigate unintended consequences, align with broader educational values. So what are the long-term societal impacts of AI in education? The long-term impacts shapes the future workforce, skills development, teachers' role, influences educational decision-making and autonomy, impacts privacy and surveillance norms, and creates new power dynamics. Strategies to align AI with ethical values. I've already talked about how to develop inclusive and transparent AI governance, how to foster critical digital literacy, balance innovation with human-centric values. How can transparency and accountability be maintained when using AI systems in decision-making processes? First of all, with explainability, utilize models that are designed to be interpretable. We document decision-making processes. to clearly document that data source decision criteria used by AI systems by conducting regular audits and reviews, by fairness assessments and stakeholder involvement to gather feedback on the AI systems performance and influence. So all of these are related with clear communication, with accountability mechanism, and ethical guidelines, training and education, and of course transparency, data use, informed consent, limited data access, and in what ways collection and use of the student may be done responsible, I mentioned before, by compliance with regulations, by ethical use data retention policies. So how can educators maintain this balance? By defining clear roles for AI and human interaction, incorporating AI insights into human teaching, foster human connection, encourage critical thinking, and provide a balanced approach to feedback. This means encourage student agency and voice, monitor and adjust AI use, promote ethical use, and support professional development. Prioritize flexible learning models, scholarship, financial aid, community, parental engagement, professional development for educators, and equitable access to technology through inclusive designs. This entails always collaborative partnerships, feedback mechanism, legal and policy framework, support services, local contexts, and another aspect, we know what is happening here, the ethical concern, the debate of the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is already banned in some countries before it's considered to be responsible for creating among students the lazy syndrome, that it's responsible for leading to, for forming students and young people who are not creative, who don't have critical thinking. So some recommendations of how to use, for example, ChatGPT, of course, banning this is not a solution, is how to designate an AI task force, for example, within universities, how to place a stronger focus on the classroom and human interactions, how to develop standard university protocols for dealing with plagiarized work, so use AI plagiarism detectors. And here for researchers, some tips I want to give you. If you are you submit some papers, if you have used any AI generative tool in your research, for example, ChatGPT, you should describe how you have used the tool in the method section or another section in your paper. If it's about a literature review, for example, you might describe how you have used the tool in your introduction. And remember that in your text, you should provide in your research paper the prompt you used and any portion of the relevant text. For instance, you can put the full text in an appendix of your paper or in online supplemental material. And this is why, because it's important to document the exact text created, because GPT creates a unique response in whatever is the prompt. But even if you use the same prompt, we have a different response. So it's important to document the exact text in a research paper and create a reference. Don't forget to create a reference to ChatGPT. Avoid if you do it like this, if you refer and cite all these AI generated tools, you won't have a problem. And before concluding, I want to remind you of these principles that I mentioned before. Belmont principles is the first framework about these things, which talks about autonomy, beneficence, normal efficiency, and justice, about all these principles that you need to have in mind if we talk about ethical and responsible use. For example, explainability, how AI decisions should be made in a way that is to understand and traced by humans, reliability, safety, fairness, accessibility, transparency, accountability, and accountability ensures responsibility for AI systems. And this has to do with auditability, how all algorithm data collection design process should be allowed to be studied and assessed, traceability, traits of dependability, privacy concerns. For Europe, we have a document for ethical guidelines, how AI Europe, trustworthy AI Europe, should be lawful, ethical, and robust, because this has to do with fundamental rights as moral and legal entitlements, for freedom of individual, respect for democracy, and ethical guidelines for trustworthy AI Europe have to do with what I mentioned before about social, environmental well-being, human agency, technical robustness and safety. Here is this document. And all this related with citizens' rights, with the principle of prevention of harm, principle of fairness, principle of respect for human autonomy. Because finally, artificial intelligence is a tool and not a threat. Thank you very much for your attention. I could speak for hours about this topic, but I have to stick to the time. So for any question, I'm here to discuss. And allow me, Dr. Dave, if it's possible,
Yes.
allow me to share something, because I think it's crucial. It's from the European Union perspective.
Yes.
You know, there are some tech-savvy countries like Sweden. Sweden is one of the most tech-savvy countries, which had integrated already smartphones and mobiles in the preschool age, the preschool. So last year, they announced that they ban smartphones from preschool classes, and they return to all textbooks, and they try to limit the use of digital tools in the classroom. This was a bomb in a period for the European Union, because now, at present, the European Union invests billions to educational institutions and schools who will implement artificial intelligence projects in the schools. And the same happens not only with Sweden, but also with Netherlands. Why? Because during the pilot period, they noticed that the students have started to lose their handwriting skills, the research skills, the mathematical skills, the critical thinking, and all of the results of PISA, the PISA competition of students, show exactly this. PISA competition analyzed the low performance of students in all countries, in Philippines also, in Greece also, low performances, and accused digital technologies, actually the no wise use of digital technology in the classroom, because students are distracted, etc., and we all know what is happening. So for me, of course, banning something is not a solution. What we need to do is to know how to navigate the complex systems, to help educators, to help teachers, to students, parents, all stakeholders, how to wisely use, responsibly and ethically use all these tools. So thank you very much for this comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lampu, for sharing your side on balancing innovation and ethics, in generative AI. Now, should we proceed to the topic prepared to us by Dr. 𝗕𝗪𝗪? You can save now your questions and perhaps give it in the chat box, so we can, at least our speakers can prepare for our open forum session later on. For now, let's proceed with Dr. 𝗕𝗪𝗪's topic.
Okay. Thank you, Russell, and thank you, Professor Dr. Rania. While I was listening to you, I'm so happy because it is also an opportunity for me to validate that what we are doing here in the Philippines is more or less there are similarities. Similarities in the sense that AI is for all, but the difference perhaps is our attack and our strategies in making sure that everything is in place. If EU is experiencing also, some countries experiencing also banning technologies, we've been through into that also. Perhaps what is good for you, you are more advantaged because of technological advancement. In the Philippines, we're one of the laggards. We're one of the countries that we have a very poor, internet connectivity and all those kind of technology. Thank you to that. I'm excited to discuss more later with you. Some of the slides are perhaps a repetitions or a more depend the Filipino way discussion of Dr. Rania. I titled my presentation AI in Education: The Filipino Way of Innovating Responsibly and Ethically. In the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'll be talking about AI and the rising demand, some AI risks and mitigation strategies in the classroom context, and the experiences of Siliman, and perhaps run through with all the frameworks presented by Professor Dr. Rania. We can just to visualize also where we can find these integration frameworks that we can also develop our own, and of course some lessons learned and concluding remarks. Okay, so as we chart the course of our preferred future, we know that the rapid pace of technological advancement in the digital age has revolutionized all aspects, including education. And that is why we're here today. We wanted to look at particularly one of these advancements, which is on artificial intelligence. AI, as we all know, just to revisit, is like having a clever assistant that can help with many tasks. It is a computer program that learns and adapts a bit like human beings. And I'll tell you, it's like a super smart and super smart helper for computers. Artificial intelligence comprises actually a lot, no? Machine learning, NLP, and so on and so forth. But the most popularized area of artificial intelligence is what we call machine learning. And the most popularized, once again, under machine learning is what we call the deep learning. Inside that deep learning, we have the generative AI, or popularly known as ChatGPT, Copilot, and all other generative AI. We know also that generative AI refers to a branch of AI that focuses on creating or generating new content. You name it, all formats: video, image, text, music, and even videos. Just to revisit also how it works, technically, it is by using generative AI model. But of course, I will not be explaining to you the computer science way, but the layman's way. Imagine you're training Maximus to draw. Maximus, Professor Nia, is my son. Initially, Maximus might only be able to scribble, but with guidance and practice, his drawings become more detailed and accurate. Generative AI models start with basic capabilities and improve over time through training on large data set. These characteristics actually define AI of what we call Education 5.0, which emphasizes future readiness and disruptive innovation. Why we are talking about this, why I have to invite experts from Greece, because we have no choice. We have no choice, but we have to embrace and we have to move on and go forward. But what's really the big deal? The big deal is simple. There is a pressing demand for everyone to embrace it. Client, customers, the market, the learners, all pressures us to stay relevant by adapting AI. The future of this generative AI is set to grow exponentially. In my research, according to McKinsey and Company, its potential impact accordingly on the global economy is immense, showcasing the technological's rapid evolution and transformative potential. Say, for example, they stated and predicted that by the end of this decade, generative AI will match human performance in most technical tasks. That means by 2040, it is expected to outperform the top 25% of individuals in this task. You imagine that, which is much earlier than experts predicted. Just like Leopold, one of the worker in OpenAI, he said that he's actually a former AI safety member, predicts an intelligence explosion where AI goes from human level to superhuman capabilities. Just a backtrack for a little, we know also that before AI, we talk a lot about ethical standards, right? For sure, every one of us went into a course, ethics and society in the Philippines, and so on and so forth. Just like for Siliman, we established our ethical standards when we set up our Ethics University Board, which is anchored in the six fundamental principles: truth, human value and well-being, integrity, environmental justice, collaboration and solidarity, stewardship. Why I mention this? I have to mention this because talking about ethical AI or ethics on AI is basically rooted from the basic ethics that we learned in the past. But we cannot deny the fact that as the innovation or as technology progresses, we anticipate witnessing additional transformative applications in various aspects of our lives, and that including education. However, we know also that as the innovation continues to advance, we will inevitably encounter further inherent risks. I am a computer science. Computer ethics is one of our area. Just to share with you what I had written before, all about ethics in AI. That risk is actually an inherent aspect of technological innovation, stemming from the intricate interplay of technical, human, and societal element. These inherent risks in technology development and innovation are actually rooted in several guiding principles, including complexity and uncertainty, human error, security vulnerabilities, resource constraints, regulatory and compliance challenges, and market adoption risks. All of this actually encompasses ethical and the social implications. Let me cite popular philosophy on the inherent risks brought by technology very, very quickly, because this is very interesting when you develop your own AI framework. Let's cite Martin Heidegger, the questions concerning technology, which he introduced in 1954, in framing that depicting modern technology's views of the world as a resource to optimize, leading to unforeseen harms, while also emphasizing the risk of loss of authentic human experiences from technology's inclination towards control, alongside the unpredictability and unintended consequences of our reliance on it to shape our environment. The second also that can guide us later on is Hans Jonas, which he advocated for ethical responsibility toward future generations regarding technology's impact. And the third one, you can also look at Beck, who wrote Risk Society Towards a New Modernity, that introduces the concept of the risk society, highlighting modernity's focus on producing and managing risk. These philosophers actually provided us a framework for understanding why there is always risk in any technology development and innovation, emphasizing the importance of ethical consideration, awareness of unintended consequences, and the need for a cautious approach to technological progresses. There's a lot of biblical underpinnings that we should never forget also, that in everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but not everything is constructive. This verse always reminds me that while many things, including technological advancement, are allowed, they may not always be beneficial or constructive. Professor Dr. Rania presented to us a lot of risks from plagiarism, unintended bias, ethical considerations, loss of creativity, inequitable access, and so on and so forth. In the next slides, I'll be sharing to you some of the approaches that we identified based on the framework that we develop at Silliman University, particularly on content generation, pedagogy and instruction, research and creative works, assessment, reporting, organizing, writing, reference. Again, these are just strategies. We are still experimenting this. We are still learning all of this, but perhaps some of you in the venue, perhaps, or I mean on Zoom, perhaps can also look at or share your strategies. First, on content and idea generation. It was mentioned by our first speaker about the lack of accuracy, context, cultural sensitivity, and etc. Some of the vital significant strategies into this is on the human review. We should always involve as teachers reviewing AI generated content to ensure accuracy and relevance. We need to develop our own ethical guidance. Later on, I'll be sharing to you what are common and popular ethical guidelines framework. In terms of pedagogy and instruction, so there are some adaptive learning systems. We can use AI systems that are designed to adapt to individual learning styles and needs, ensuring personalized learning experiences. If your learning management systems, you can incorporate a PLD or a personalized device learning platform. That's better. Teacher involvement is always there. Ensure that us can override AI recommendations and tailor pedagogical approaches to individual student. In terms of research and creative works, for sure, I think this is the most controversial. Are we using ChatGPT or any Gen AI in our research productivity and etc.? Some of the mitigation, cross verification, literacy, AI training is very, very important, as mentioned by our first speaker, and of course, some of the plagiarism detection tools. In terms of assessment and evaluation, hybrid assessment is really necessary. We should not be too dependent and over-reliant to technology. I am not sure if every one of us have tried uploading an essay and then asking ChatGPT to score the essay using a rubrics. Regular calibration, continuously calibrate AI assessment tool, and always we have to be transparent and explain to our students and understand to let them understand how grades are determined. If using artificial intelligence is part of your assessment, we have to declare that into our assessment tool. In terms of office reporting, it is very important that we have to implement where office staff review and verify AI generated report, use AI alongside robust data validation mechanism, and of course, regularly audits AI generated reports to ensure their accuracy and reliability. In terms of organizing office activities, many of us perhaps are using any generative AI to think and organize the our activities. We have to use AI tools that allow for customization based on our specific needs. That means we still need to think what activities that we should develop. Continuously update the AI systems and train users on how to utilize these tools effectively, and fallback mechanisms where we have to ensure that fallback mechanisms are in place, such as manual overrides to correct any AI-driven scheduling errors. In terms of writing, human editing still works. I'll tell you, even if you run your document to increase readability and clarity, we still need to read from page one up to the end. Train AI models on specific organizational language and context to improve relevance and coherence. What I mean to this is we have to talk to the AI. We have to let them understand the way you write, the way you think, your styling mechanism. You have to introduce yourself, the way you write, and so on and so forth, so that you can contextualize your writing. And of course, you need to have your ethical use policies. And in terms of reference management, cross-checking is very important, regular software updates, and integration with trusted data databases. What I am trying to say with this very quick sharing on approaches to mitigate, that mitigating this risk requires a comprehensive approach. It's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but an approach that will collectively and comprehensively include responsible use, ethical considerations that will foster critical thinking skills among students. And mitigating this, I mean, schools should adopt AI, but it necessitates a proactive approach, and developing this framework is not easy. It must be a collective approach. Our first speaker mentioned a lot of framework. I will not repeat that, but rather move this forward. First, we have our audience can look at, this is really wonderful. The EU AI Act. I was reading on this, and it makes me I don't know if we can do this in the Philippines, but they already have they identify the risk from minimal, limited, high, and unacceptable risk. And I also downloaded Professor Lampu actually the full regulations, and it's so draining to read all of them, while Philippines is also still starting. FYI, Professor Rania, we don't have government policies yet as far as AI implementation is concerned. Even our Ministry of Education, we don't have that. But I know also that many institutions and even our government is trying to develop one. But what is good for the Philippines, if an AI we have an AI landscape framework in the government, developed by the government. But as far as AI ethical framework, still in the making. We can also look at UNESCO. This was mentioned by Professor Lampu. In the UNESCO, they have actually 4 values and articulated into 10 principles. From that, they articulated it in the so-called centric learner education approach. We can also look at this UNESCO from different perspective. They call it 10 policy research or 10 policy agenda on ethics. And they even have a book on identifying skills and competencies, including for teachers and for students. We can also look at those with the UNESCO and UNDP. They have a so-called RAM. They call it Readiness Assessment Methodology. This is where Seliman went through. We look at the different rubrics. We're trying to look at the different dimensions and etc. You can also add or refer to the World Economic Forum. They have 7 principles of AI in education, and the IEEE in advancing technology for education from human rights to competence. And Microsoft also, this is popular to many of us in the Philippines. You can look at their ethical AI framework. And for sure, we can also consider some cohort-based or look at several journal articles that suggested cohort-based applications of ethical AI considerations. I tried to compile all of this with the help of ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gave me 14. I inputted all those 6 guiding principles, and ChatGPT summarized all those principles that I'd mentioned, and Professor Rania also mentioned. ChatGPT summarized this into 14: prevention of harm up to enforce the code. When our colleagues wanted to develop your own framework, you don't need to mention all of this. You just have to look at which area is applicable in your school, and so on and so forth. So actually, this is our basis when we come up with Seliman's AI framework. Just very recently, last year, our board of trustees approved the framework, and only last May, our board of trustees also approved the implementing guidelines and policies. This will be publicly available most probably next week when everything is done and clearance will be given. The public can actually download I think, almost 50 pages implementing guideline, categorized into 5, 6, 7 parts or sections in that document. In conclusion, AI is a tool that holds immense potential, but when there is innovations, while we embrace innovation, we should continue to embrace innovation. Why? Because we wanted to be relevant to our learners. But we have to be reminded that in any innovation, there is a corresponding pressure and there is a corresponding risk. And that risk should always be equated with ethical principles, because AI always brings with a responsibility that all of us to wield it ethically and responsibly. Again, it is not just simply about embracing innovation, not just about understanding algorithms and how these codes are programmed, but it's about embracing a mindset that combines innovation with a profound sense of ethics, which means, just to connect with Professor Rania, um, stopping the students not to use it is not a solution. I'll tell you, banning AI, banning all this stuff is not a solution. After all, we're not there 24/7 to police our students. It's only a portion, it's only a half day or a few days or a few times that we can look over our students. But what if they will go home? We cannot also say we cannot never, or we don't anymore give assignment, because students will just use that chat gpt or copilot or any generative ai for their assignment. What is really needed, we need to innovate also our teaching and learning strategies. Mitigating the risk of AI in schools across these various domains involves a combination of human oversight, regular audit, contextual customization, and continuous training. Again, human oversight. We still be needing. Teachers are plays a significant role in a responsible and ethical use of AI in the classroom or even in our daily lives. AI can greatly enhance efficiently and effectiveness in educational settings, but it must be carefully managed to avoid potential pitfalls. Once a colleague of mine asked, and when I presented also in a national setting, a president also asked me, so are you saying that we are allowing students to be dull and to be dumb? My response to that is, yes, we are allowing the use of technology, specifically the use of AI, but we have to use this technology to augment critical thinking among everyone. We use this technology while we allow everyone to use technology, we have to regulate it. Thank you and good afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Marshall, for giving us a an overview, no? Another overview on mitigating uh, the risks in using generative AI in the educational setting. So now we are open for our open forum or question and answer portion of our lecture this afternoon. Can we invite our, by the way, let's try this. Good afternoon, everyone, all the participants in Zoom. Can you give us a thumbs up to let us know if you are here? Maybe an emoji, a heart perhaps, or maybe a raise of hand. Okay, you are here. Okay. Sige. So now I am inviting you all to please give us your questions directed to our speakers, Professor Dr. Rania Lampu or Dr. Dave Marshall. If you have questions, I know some of you might have uh, a very interesting question. Okay, we have participants engaging with us. If you have your question, you can turn on your microphone or you can give us a chat on the chat box. No? Sige. So while we are waiting for our participants to uh, generate their question, no? Perhaps you might want to ask ChatGPT to generate a question for you. And let me ask our um, lecturers or our guest speakers this afternoon a certain question. What are the potential risks, Dr. Marshall and Professor Dr. Rania Lampo? What are the potential long-term consequences of widespread AI use in education, both positive and negative, perhaps? How should educational institutions plan for and address those long-term impacts? I guess this is one of the impending questions, perhaps asked by our also in the minds of our participants. So, what are the long-term risks or consequences?
Maybe
Yes, can
Professor
you
Dr.
hear me?
Ren.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
we can hear you.
Okay,
That that
definitely.
Miss Universe question.
Miss Universe.
Yes, first I would like to congratulate Dr. Dave for this insightful presentation, but mostly for this framework. It's extremely useful and valuable and precious. You know, academic integrity and is being eroded. I'm a reviewer in many journals, and the last months I receive research papers which are completely plagiarized from ChatGPT. And this is very, very sad. So this webinar and the framework that you are conducting this university is extremely useful to make the students understand that we have to be wise and ethical users of in research. So because this undermines the educational process, because students potentially learn less and they focus more on simply completing tasks rather than understanding the material. And this, we talk about the educational setting in general, we become more and more dependent on AI over critical thinking. This leads to a decline in our ability to solve problems independently, to creatively tackle challenges. This diminishes our originality, our original, of course, ideas. And of course, we talk about long-term consequences. This entails the bias reinforcement and propagation, because over time, these biases would become ingrained, would become a part of integral part of the learning experiences. And this means what? This will perpetuate stereotypes or limit diverse perspectives in the educational material. This also, what another long-term consequences means the loss of human teaching experiences. Because students may lose out on the benefits of empathy. I mentioned before about emotional intelligence, of mentorship, of nuanced understanding that human educators provide. I think that we're losing the richness of human interaction in learning. That's why, as you suggest, the hybrid learning methods are important for this. So alternate between face-to-face learning and hybrid learning. And another issue is the over-surveillance and privacy concerns. In Greece, there was a scandal recently with data privacy of students because of a company, a tech company. Anyway, it's a huge, it was a huge scandal, a big story. What I want to say is that in the long term, over surveillance and privacy concerns could erode trust and create a culture of surveillance where students are constantly under scrutiny. And this might also lead to issues of data misuse, breaches of, in general, manipulative practices on students' psychological profiles. And the biggest fear, I think, the biggest fear is job replacement, displacement. Although I think that teachers, for example, will never be replaced by AI. But remember something, that teachers who don't know AI will be replaced by teachers who know AI. This means that you need to constantly update your digital skills and to be always aware of all these new technological advancements. So more or less, I think these are the long-term consequences, and that's
Okay,
why
thank you very
frameworks
much.
are important.
Yeah. Thank you
Yes.
to that. My response also would be on the other lens, another lens. Long term, um, that AI gonna be just like Google in the future. Just like when Google came in, when Facebook came in, We had fears also. Remember to that, Professor Rania, when Facebook, when social media in general came in, even to the Philippines, we blocked Facebook. There were orders from the government that no students are allowed to use this. Even Silliman University, we went through the stages where we blocked the Facebook, and then we had no choice because students knows how to unblock it, and so on and so forth. But to me, proper training and guidance to everyone. When I say everyone, that includes parent, there's so-called digital parenting, um, uh, innovations and consciousness of all these risks should be rooted in the mind of all teachers. No, should be rooted in the mind of all teachers. That is why training is very important, because if we don't know all this kind of operations and features, it's difficult for us also to assist and to educate our students. That is why in my last slide, human intervention is very, very important. Let's not be too over reliant with technology. Why? Because it really decreases critical thinking. In fact, if you are very immersed and you know how to interact the technology, it can actually support and improve your productivity. Sir Russell, maybe you wanted to look at also there are
Yes,
some questions and
yes, sir. There are questions. Okay, let's have first a question from 𝗕𝗵𝗴𝗰𝗂𝗓. In terms of critical thinking and achieving course outcomes and objectives, how can we work with our students and AI to improve and achieve them?
Yes, yes. I want to reply here. There are so many activities that we can do in order to combine both. First of all, with AI can simulate the debates and argumentation simulations where students must argue for against a position, for example, or for against a complex problem. The AI, for example, can take the opposing stance, forcing students to think critically, to consider counter arguments and defend their points. We can give them complex also case studies or mystery scenarios that require students to piece together information or to identify patterns and draw logical conclusions. AI will do this. And at the same time, AI can give subtle hints or introduce red herrings to challenge thinking. Another activity, AI can present a series of articles, of arguments on a topic. Students can analyze this for credibility, for potential biases or reliability. Something that else that we can do is to present ethical dilemmas where there's no clear right or wrong answer. So AI does this, and students must evaluate the options, considering the consequences, the moral principles, the potential impacts on different stakeholders. Another case is critical thinking is combined with collaboration, because AI can facilitate collaboration by posing challenges, by meditating discussions. And this way it ensures that everyone participates. Of course, there are many, if we opt for metacognition activity, AI can prompt students to reflect after the thought process, what they have learned, how this could be improved. This encourages metacognitive skills, thinking about how they think. Help them also with evaluation. This is very important. Problem-solving scenarios, I forgot to mention this. We can present them as scenarios that require students to solve complex open-ended problems. The AI here should provide the feedback, not based on a single right answer, but on the reasoning behind the student's approach. So in any case, we can incorporate AI in a balanced way in order to promote critical thinking. It depends on us, it depends on educators, how they will use this and how they will make AI tools more creative and more challenging and more attractive to students.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lampo, for that answer. Let's try to entertain some more questions from our participants. I think Dr. Marshall is also replying to some of the questions that are posted in the chat box. So perhaps you let's try to entertain some other questions. Perhaps this one from Jason Jimenez, the same with Sir Christian J. Famor.
Mm.
They have similar question. No? So how do you make citation if the content is coming from AI? I think Dr. Lampu, you did explain it to us moments ago. Is it possible to show them on how to
Ah,
cite?
okay. So you mean to open my PowerPoint again this
Yeah.
way?
Yes.
O-
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay,
think so.
okay, okay, okay. Let me do this. Okay. Okay, when you need to quote or make a citation, first of all, in your research paper, you need to describe how you used any tool, not only ChatGPT, but any AI-generated tool, in your method section or any other comparable section of your paper. If it is about a literature review, you can describe how you use the tool in the introduction. And in any case, you need to provide the whole reply that you got from the tool, the whole prompt that you used, or any other part of the relevant text which was generated. You can put it also in an appendix of your paper or in any online supplemental material. Why? Because it is important, said before, to document the exact text created. And why this? Because ChatGPT, if you use the same prompt, will give you a different answer. It gives a unique response each time, even if you use the same prompt. That's why we need to document the exact text that we got. And then the citation will be like that. We take an idea, OpenAI, and this is the format somehow. In any case, in each university and in every journal, there are different guidelines about this. This is one particular case. Your university may have other ethical guidelines or other guidelines about how to make the citations. Remember this, before submitting any paper or any chapter in any research book, you need to take into consideration the guidelines of each journal and each university educational institution, because this differs from the rules of each university education institution.
Yeah, agree to that. My
And
suggestion to
be in contact always with ethical review boards, research boards,
yeah,
and committees.
yeah. In connection to that, you look at policy first within your context, and if you mean citing a material for your school, you check with your university if you have policies on the citations and how if that is really allowed or not. So granting if that is allowed, then as to what level of declaration, no? And then if you are referring to a research paper, Dr. Lampu mentioned that we have to look at the guidelines. There are some journals, they don't allow the use of any generative AI. There are some journals also allowed, but to a certain extent of level. We have actually a separate training to that. We'll be having a training at Silliman. We have a so-called statement of AI declaration in all research and productivity that we will be doing. We have a template. We created our own template. We have a table that you have to declare your prompts, what did you do after, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. It's not allowed in all journals and universities. So you need to take consideration every time which are the guidelines and rules of each institution. Exactly. It's not always allowed.
I think we have a question from Tess Tabada.
Good afternoon. Professor Dr. Rania. Thank you for that very interesting and comprehensive presentation. And also to Sir Dave, thank you for that very challenging presentation. Actually, what I wanted to ask was really in the Philippines, how far are we in terms of putting in place a policy, national policy on the use of AI in higher education? And then because Silliman is a private university, I'm not sure how far are the state universities able to really put in place. No, the demand is there, but I think the supply, being the capacity to provide this is still a long way. So I do not know if there are initiatives along this line to really help, especially the SUCs, um, help them really come up with their own policies and being able to, well, to be at par with all the other higher education institutions that have already this in place, because it's very useful, but I think it's really challenging, and sometimes it scares me, no, especially be, I think because I'm not as techy, so I think that's part of the fear. But also because we want to make sure that we are able to pass on to our students the correct values, the ethical dimensions. I think more important to other things. I think really being able to make them understand how to use this properly. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Um, I cannot speak for the government, but what I what I know what I know our specifically in the higher education, I heard that there is a committee organized by the Commission on Higher Education, working on AI policies. I know also some groups in the different technical panel, they are trying to develop also their own discipline based policies
Okay.
and guidelines. It's not really comprehensive, that Ma'am Tess, but I know it's on the pipeline. We may have so many priorities with all the with all the issues in nationally in the country, but
Yeah.
um, uh, I know I can say that our policymakers and our educators, our education experts are actually looking at it, because for sure they themselves understand understand really the need of having this. I was able also to talk to a president of a big state university, and he said there's no really way of not embracing it. I think the issue now is how to guide the students. Um, it was a mixed emotion. First is I am happy that many schools are seeing importance of educational technology, but at the same time still still challenge on making sure that this technology are ethically and responsibly used. Ma'am Tess, for state university, you can look at UP. UP has University of the Philippines. They are, I think, one of the first who developed their
Mhm.
own institution base. But again, just like what Professor Lampu mentioned, that a framework should be contextualized to our own needs and our own vision, mission, and policies, in order for us to just a support tool. So while we together with Professor Lampu presented a lot of framework, it's not really possible to put them together, because we have different focus, we have different priorities, different agenda as to the integration of technology. Just to share, just like at Silliman, we have different levels of integration. Even if we have a framework, we're not saying that we have different level of integration. Some courses they don't allow, some course they allow. Why? Because it is a context to their discipline. So we can work together. Ma'am Tess, I'll be there.
When? Yes.
Someone invited me from your school to
Okay.
to develop the framework.
That's good. That's good news. That's good news. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I hope that answers the question. No, so let's
Yes.
try to entertain more questions. This one from 𝗕𝗀𝗃𝗃 from uh, BLIS. So Bohol, I think. So her question: in order to generate the content that they are prompted to make, all general generative AI must be fed specific data, be it artwork, prose, etc., that they can use as a reference. What exactly makes this act of learning different from theft or intellectual property? Also,
Yes,
I think
yes.
it's connected to this question. What universal policy and law governs artificial intelligence?
Yes, I want to reply. If it's, you allow me, it's a very interesting question. How is this makes art of learning different from theft? Actually, AI can have limited possibilities here, including creativity, problem solving, and innovation. First of all, it can be a great brainstorming partner. It can offer ideas that might not be immediately obvious to humans. It provides unique combinations or fresh perspectives. It's something that explores alternative perspectives. So it can help us consider ideas from different angles by presenting alternative approaches. It can help us expand our ideas or refine ideas. If you have, for example, a basic idea, AI can help you expand this idea and refine it by suggesting ways to elaborate or improve it. It can produce multiple variations of an idea. And this allows users to compare or select the most practical one, the most appealing one. And this is helpful in design or innovation, in storytelling. Another possibility is the cross-disciplinarity, because it can merge ideas from different fields, and this leads to innovation that wouldn't be possible within a single discipline. AI can simulate also scenarios to set the feasibility or outcomes of an idea. By running through different possibilities, it helps users to refine their ideas based on realistic outcomes, and also help them to test their ideas. And of course, AI can offer prompts or challenges specifically designed to push users out of the comfort zones. This is very important, and this means that we can discover a creative part also in AI if we use it, as I said before, ethically, and if we use it with creativity in mind. I think it's a wonderful tool. It's important to blend all these AI tools with the human creativity, because this can spark innovation. But of course, as I said before, this depends on how you use it. If you ask me, I'm not so optimistic for the future, because long term, I think that there will be a homogenization of creative output, with fewer truly original ideas emerging, because more and more people will resort to AI-generated content. And this will actually undermine the richness of creative fields like art or design. But for now, I think it's a wonderful tool. I think I have replied.
Okay, thank you very much. So speaking of AI being a wonderful tool, let's I think we can entertain this another question from a student, Arjan Galido. He actually asked multiple questions. First question was, how can we ensure the transparency in how AI makes decision? And then he made a follow-up question. For us students, how how can we make sure that AI models is representing and doesn't include harmful biases? So as a student, they are concerned.
Okay.
Okay.
There are, yeah, from the computer science perspective, the output is through what we call generative AI models. It's an algorithm that do all this kind of ways to locate data. So how AI come up with suggestions or the generated content is actually based from a large database model. Okay, LLM. So they where this large database model, they get it from the web. They harvest data, they put it into their own large database. And then inside that database, they develop a program, a code called generative model, so that with all kind of research or searches you will do, the computer can understand it. Now, is there a question of bias? That is why Professor Rania and myself said there is always bias. There is always bias. That is why we are talking about the ethics, because whether we like it or not, there is always a bias. Why? Because AI will just simply generate content from a repository. And most especially if your search is not that very specific, it will give you a very general content, and it's not even contextualized. What if you're looking for a content and the content is not available on the web? So obviously it's biased to, perhaps the content are Western, the content are in the US. There's no content about the Filipino, no Filipino topics, no Filipino content that they harvested from the web. So it can produce really bias. There is really bias, I'll tell you. That is why human intervention is very important. As mentioned by both of us, AI is just really a support tool. We cannot never be too reliant or dependent to the output of AI, like, oops, you ask this and then you copy and then you paste and then you submit it. That's not really possible, even to us teachers. While Professor Dr. Rania mentioned about it's good for brainstorming that cannot be generated in just one click, that's really true. But you really still have to check the output, validate it to available journals, available more reliable peer-reviewed content.
Yes, so Dr. Dave, I want to add something here. You said that AI harvests data and from the internet. Here there is a big ethical dilemma. If, for example, you want to conduct a research and take the profiles on social media of users of social media to conduct a research, for example, about smoking or anything else. What happens here? We have data which are actually taken from public profiles, profiles which are displayed publicly on Facebook, but these concern private information. So what is happening here? It's ethical or unethical to use data which are collected by AI tools and concern private information, although they are displayed on public profiles. I'm saying this example in order to tell you that throughout our research journey, you will face many ethical dilemmas like this. If something is ethical or unethical, that's why you need to be always in contact with the ethical research board and committees. And something else that beyond ethical contacts, beyond rules, there's something else that you need to have in mind, the ethical values. So first ethical values and then ethical contacts and regulations, all this should go alongside. This is my advice to you as researchers. follow your ethical values, your heart, and after ethical codes. Dr. Dave, I hope you won't be angry with me.
I like that, Dr. Rania, the ethical values. That's really, really the important. That is why the first slide of Dr. Rania talks about ethics, because even before AI, we talk about ethics, and the AI thing is just an added evolution of that technology that we have to strengthen our ethical values. So ethical values should come first, then um the technology, the technology we should that is why I said, when we develop our ethical guidelines and framework, it should be anchored on the institution's framework also of um yeah, the values of the institution.
Okay, so I hope that everyone was able to get satisfied with the answers of your questions. Perhaps a final question, ma'am, sir. Uh, since we're talking about biases in ethics, final question: how might the adoption of AI in education change the role of teachers and educators?
Yes, yes. Um, in AI educational settings, teachers will be facilitators, will be mentors, will be advisors. We are not anymore the input and knowledge dispensers. The God who teaches from the ex-cathedra, the absolute God, it's the one who actually is there to support it, to guide, and to give the moral and ethical guidelines to young people. And of course, let's not forget that the new now the new input that the AI has given us is the more involvement of parents. Thanks to all these AI collaborative platforms, we involve more and more parents. Parents are more involved in what we're doing every day. So collaboration of all key stakeholders, including teachers, students, parents, local communities, and everyone is involved thanks to these AI tools. Of course, this liberates our tasks, and because liberates time. I want to mention that recently I attended some seminars for Microsoft. It presented some tools for educators. It were amazing because in 2 minutes I created a test in French, for example, French history. I gave a prompt in 2 minutes. It gave me amazing multiple question tests and things like that. So these possibilities were not at our disposal in the past. So we need to recognize, to acknowledge the unlimited possibilities that AI give us. But of course, we need to find the golden line. The golden line is not to over-rely on these tools and remember that we are humans, and maintain a human dimension alongside with technical skills. Otherwise, we will have to face cases like Sweden and other countries who want to return to old textbooks and ban the use of digital technologies, which is not, as I said before, the wise case.
Yeah, I should agree from the Philippine perspective, from a Filipino perspective who studied about educational technology for quite some time. We might have we might be slow in the embracing and the adoption, but let's just be put into our mind that AI is just like any other educational tool. It's just that it is powerful of compared to others digital technology. So let's not be scared with that, although it is really uh scary. There are some tools that really scary if not properly used, and if not properly guided in terms of use. It can really deteriorate critical thinking among our students. That is why in my last comment of one those who answered, um training is very important, and AI literacy is a must. AI literacy for students keep on understanding if you're not coming from the IT or computer science. Um, more training, attend more literacy, particularly on how to become a responsible digital technology user. Was the role of the teacher still the same? Facilitator of learning. We've been hearing that for quite some time already. This time, more an added task to facilitate learning with technology. Kasi most of the time, when we define facilitators of learning, we facilitate the in-person student, we facilitate the classroom. But this time, facilitators of learning, including digital technology.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dave and Dr. Lampu, for your answers. So in the interest of time, no, we're about to end this program. Perhaps some of your questions you are still having them. You can choose to contact us if you are having questions, or perhaps it will be answered only in the chat. No, sige. So as we continue, let me give the certificate of recognition to Professor Dr. Lampu. So let me read the citation. Dr. Mariano C. Lau Global Study Center of Silliman University presents the Certificate of Recognition to Professor Dr. Rania Lampu in her invaluable contribution uh, as a speaker for the lecture in balancing innovation and ethics, managing risks, and ensuring responsible AI use in education. Hosted by Dr. Mariano C. Lau Global Study Center, held on August 24, 2024, um, in celebration of Silliman University's Founders Day, given this 24th day of August in the year of our Lord 2024, online via Zoom. Signed, Dr. Dave E. Marshall. Thank you very much, Dr. Lampu, for your help.
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. This discussion never ends. This week, I read how Elon Musk, for example, will going to replace his employees with robots. It's a reality. It's going to happen. And also, I have seen many supermarkets in Japan and other countries which are completely functioned by robots. So I don't know if this is an alarming reality or not, or what will happen, but let's be optimistic.
That's true. There's cashless. When you go to groceries, there's no more sales lady to put your things on the plastic bags, because everything is in automation. While automation is rampant nowadays, especially in developing countries, um, in the Philippines, maybe it will take more time, although we are developing. But in countries like Europe, when I visited some places there, there's already a lot of automation. There's automation with the primary objective of not replacing human beings, but to improve efficiency and productivity. But again, as I'd mentioned in my talk, in every innovation there is an inherent risk. It is always equated with risk. It's up to us, human beings, especially in the academe, to continue doing our job and our task to educate our young students, young learners, on how we can mitigate all this kind of uh, risks.
Yes,
Okay?
of course,
So,
to maintain updated our school curriculum,
yeah.
bring computational thinking in the classroom, robotics, fund robotics projects, all this. It's up to government and the collaboration with private sector. Update the curriculum. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Should we continue with our closing ceremonies? For now, let's take this chance to have a photo opportunity, may we request our participants to please turn on your cameras if it allows you. Sige, so we have, I think, four frames here. Just keep keep on smiling and give us your best smile. So we are, as we are trying to take photos of you, no? So, sige, whilst others are still turning on their cameras. Okay, let's have this uh, first frame. One, two, three, smile. Okay, for a moment. Let's have the second frame. Just keep smiling, everyone. Okay, second frame. One, two, three, smile. Okay, and third frame. One, two, three, smile. And the final one, just keep smiling. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation and for all your questions. We sure did have a very productive discussion. If you still have questions, you can choose to email us. We are happy to engage with you or provide you with some more answers. No, so let me take this opportunity to invite you all for our upcoming masterclass in disability inclusive education. So while we are talking about infusing generative AI in education, we also have to think about our colleagues or family or friends who might be having difficulties in education because of their disability. So now we are tackling the issue with our masterclass in disability inclusive education. So you can um, take a screenshot of this slide so that you will be able to scan the QR code later, or you can visit us on Facebook for this post and have the registration link. And also, we are having an upcoming lectures on various topics in AI. So we are uh, at the Global Study Center. We are not only providing online webinars or meetings, we are also hosting in-person lectures or workshops on crafting an AI integration framework, as well as in-person workshop in using generative AI in research writing. So again, you can take a screenshot of this slide so you can scan the QR code later on, or you can visit us on Facebook. So that's SU Lao GSC, or look for Dr. Mariano C. Lao Global Study Center for more of our upcoming lectures. And you can also contact us via phone. It's 422 local 417, or you can email us at global@su.edu.ph. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for your active participation. And hopefully, we are also inviting you now to have the evaluation. So this evaluation will trigger your certificate of attendance for this lecture. So make sure to fill out your names and your email address properly so that your certificate of attendance will be delivered to you with the correct information. So again, you can scan the QR code, or you can go to the link bit.ly/ balancing innovation and ethics 2024. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Make sure to fill out the evaluation form for your certificate of attendance. For the rest of the, and also the link for the evaluation is in the chat box, so you can just click on it. Okay, thank you very much for all your appreciation messages, and we hope to see you again in our future lectures at the Global Study Center.